Most guys grow up hearing the same advice: be polite, be respectful, be kind, treat her well, and everything will work out. Sounds solid, right? On paper, it feels like the safest path. But somewhere along the way, a lot of men notice something that doesn't make sense. The nicer they are, the less attraction they get. The more they give, the more invisible they feel. And that's confusing as hell, especially when you're doing what you were told was right. Let's get one thing clear from the start. This is not about being rude. It's not about being cold, toxic, or disrespectful. And it's definitely not about turning into someone you're not. This is about understanding why being too nice often isn't kindness at all. It's fear in disguise. And fear never creates attraction, respect, or emotional connection. Most nice guys aren't actually nice. They're careful, they're cautious, they're constantly monitoring how they're being perceived. They avoid conflict, they avoid saying what they really think. They avoid rocking the boat because deep down they're scared of losing approval. And that fear shapes everything they do in relationships. Being too nice usually means you're prioritizing being liked over being respected. And the problem is, respect always comes before attraction. Always. You can be liked and still be overlooked. You can be liked and still be taken for granted. You can be liked and still not be chosen. A lot of men confuse kindness with self-erasure. They think being supportive means saying yes to everything. They think being loving means never disagreeing. They think being understanding means swallowing their own needs. Over time, they disappear in their own relationships. And when that happens, attraction fades. Not because they're bad men, but because there's nothing solid to connect to anymore. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Attraction doesn't grow in an environment where one person is always adjusting and the other person never has to. When you're always accommodating, always available, always agreeable, you stop being a partner and start becoming emotional furniture, useful, comforting, but not desired. Most men who are too nice are actually negotiating for love. They give compliments hoping for affection back. They do favors hoping for appreciation. They suppress their frustration hoping it will keep the peace. But love doesn't work on unspoken contracts. Nobody owes you attraction because you were good. Nobody feels desire because you sacrifice silently. And the worst part is, the resentment builds quietly. You start feeling unappreciated. You start thinking, after everything I've done, this is how I'm treated. But you never said what you needed. You never set boundaries. You never showed who you actually were. You just hoped it would be noticed. Being too nice also kills polarity. Relationships need contrast. They need two people with opinions, values, and edges. When you're always smoothing things over, always agreeing, always going with the flow, there's no tension. And without tension, there's no spark. This is why men who are calm, grounded, and emotionally solid often attract more than men who are constantly trying to please. They're not chasing, they're not performing, they're not proving anything. They show up as they are, and that creates safety and intrigue at the same time. A lot of men think setting boundaries will push people away, but boundaries don't push away the right people. They filter out the ones who were only benefiting from your lack of them. When you finally say no, when you finally express discomfort, when you finally choose yourself, some people will react negatively. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the dynamic was built on you being convenient, not respected. Being too nice also makes your emotions unpredictable. You bottle things up until they leak out in weird ways. Passive-aggressive comments, sudden distance, emotional shutdowns. And from the outside, it looks confusing. One day you're agreeable, the next you're cold. That inconsistency doesn't come from confidence. It comes from suppressed frustration. Real emotional strength is being able to say what you feel without apologizing for existing. It's being able to disagree without attacking. It's being able to walk away when something doesn't align instead of staying and hoping it changes. Another hard truth is this: people don't value what doesn't require effort to keep. If you're always available, always forgiving, always understanding no matter what, there's no incentive to meet you halfway. That doesn't make someone evil, it makes them human. This is where many men get stuck. They think the solution is to become colder, more distant, or emotionally unavailable. That's not the answer. That just swings the pendulum to the other extreme. The goal isn't to stop caring. The goal is to care without abandoning yourself. There's a difference between kindness and self-sacrifice. Kindness is a choice, self-sacrifice is a compulsion. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear of loss. Ask yourself this honestly. When you're being nice, are you doing it because you genuinely want to, or because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't? That question changes everything. Men who grow out of the too nice pattern don't become louder. They become clearer. They don't become aggressive. They become grounded. They don't chase less because they're playing games. They chase less because they finally understand their worth. And when you start acting from self respect instead of approval, the entire dynamic shifts. You stop over explaining. You stop negotiating your boundaries. You stop tolerating behavior that drains you. And ironically, that's when people start leaning in. Attraction grows when someone feels like they're choosing you, not when you're trying to earn them. Desire shows up when there's mutual investment, not when one person is constantly overgiving. This applies to dating, long term relationships, and even marriages. Men who suppress themselves to keep the peace often wake up one day feeling invisible in their own lives. And rebuilding that sense of self takes time, but it's possible. Start small. Say no when you mean no. Speak up when something bothers you. Take space when you need it without guilt. Stop explaining your boundaries like you're asking for permission. The people who respect you will adjust. The people who don't were never aligned with you in the first place. Being too nice isn't a personality trait. It's a survival strategy you learned somewhere along the way. Maybe from childhood, maybe from past rejection, maybe from being taught that conflict equals loss. But you're allowed to unlearn it. Healthy relationships aren't built on tiptoeing. They're built on honesty, emotional courage, and mutual respect. And respect starts with how you treat yourself when no one is watching. You don't need to become someone else to be desired. You just need to stop hiding who you already are. Confidence isn't loud, it's calm, it's consistent, it's rooted in self trust. When you stop being too nice, you don't lose love. You lose the version of love that required you to shrink. And that's not a loss, that's growth. So if you've been wondering why your kindness hasn't been returned, why your effort hasn't been matched, or why attraction keeps fading despite your best intentions, this might be the shift you've been missing. You don't need to do more. You need to stand firmer. You don't need to prove your value. You need to live like you already believe in it. And once you do, everything changes. If this video hit a little too close to home, that's not a bad thing. Awareness is where change starts. Take what resonated, sit with it, and start choosing yourself without guilt. If you found this helpful, like the video so it reaches more people who need to hear it. And if you want more honest, grounded relationship insights like this, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.